Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are asking me why my window screen is on the 2022 election for the senator of the state of Alabama. And the truth is, it is very, very symbolic of the struggle and the war for the GOP between the establishmentarian individuals and the grassroots populists, and it kind of shows where the party is. And I will be blunt and I will be honest when I say if the Republican Party simply happens to retake both the House and the Senate, but does so with the same weak, spineless individuals that have been running the Republican Party for decades now, nothing is going to get done, and we're going to continue to lose our country regardless. And this is why it's so pivotal. I don't want to retake Congress with a rhino red wave or with a weak establishmentarian conservative red wave. No, we need authentic individuals, authentic candidates. And it's not just the Alabama Senate race, and we're going to talk about all of this and more. But first, I have to tell you guys about my good friends over at My Patriot Supply. Folks, are you getting an uneasy feeling about the future? You just can't put your finger on it, but you know something big is going to happen soon, and it's not going to be good because millions of Americans feel that way right now, and they're quietly stockpiling emergency food while they can. Do you have enough emergency food to get you through a sudden crisis? If not, check out My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's #1 preparedness company, and they've served millions of American families. And right now, you can save 25% off their popular 4-week emergency food kit. You'll enjoy a hearty breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks totaling over 2,000 calories a day, while everyone else is standing in a food line. Plus, this food stays fresh for up to 25 years in proper storage, so it'll be there whenever you need it. But don't wait. Go to preparewithredeagle.com to claim your 4-week emergency food kit. You'll save 25% if you act right now. Again, that is preparewithredeagle.com. So the Republican Party, you have Mo Brooks. Mo Brooks has been an authentic conservative his entire career in the United States Congress. He ran for Senate in the 2017 special election. Had he got the nomination instead of Roy Moore, and if Donald Trump had endorsed him instead of Luther Strange, and it was Mo Brooks against Roy Moore in that primary, Mo Brooks would have won that thing by 40. And the general election, he would have defeated Doug Jones by probably around 10 to 15 points at a very minimum, even with Democrats energized. Because, yeah, electoral flukes do happen. We might see one in California within a few weeks. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible. But again, you have Mo Brooks against several individuals. Linda Blanchard was the former U.S. ambassador to Slovenia. You have Katie Britt. Katie Britt was the former chief of staff to Richard Shelby. Richard Shelby was a Democrat until the 1970s. And then he became a rhino. He wasn't one of those old blue dog populist Democrats who was just pushed to the edge by his own party. No, of course not. Richard Shelby was one of the most fiscally conservative and socially just apathetic individuals in Congress, your typical establishmentarian Republican. And then you have Mo Brooks, and then you have Jessica Taylor, who ran in Alabama's 2nd congressional district and did poorly. And there may be some other candidates that could potentially jump in the race as well, but Mo Brooks is the best candidate. And Donald Trump endorsed him. Rand Paul endorsed him. Rand Paul, he may be a libertarian, but his endorsements overall, you could argue, are better than Donald Trump's for the most part. He was also endorsed by Stephen Miller, which was arguably Trump's best advisor. The reason why Stephen Miller made the left so mad is because he was really effective. He wrote a lot of Trump's best speeches, including the speech at Mount Rushmore that was arguably the best speech of the whole year back in 2020. Stephen Miller is pretty solid. He's an authentic conservative. He's a national populist. And you have Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, his endorsements have not always been the greatest, but this one, it seems like it was just too easy. Now, Richard Shelby, the former rhino in Alabama, he has endorsed Katie Britt, who has, is going to run an incompetent campaign, but still is going to get a lot of that donor money. And people like Katie Britt, they are too weak to take a stand on the issues that matter. They are going to be fiscal hawks mainly and do a very poor job at that. And they are going to be war hawks. They're going to call for more intervention. They are going to essentially call for this continual mass migration that we've seen in our country. And this is symbolic, okay? This is fairly symbolic. This is not just the highest profile election. It's Alabama. Mo Brooks probably is going to win the primary. Looking at the polling, he's ahead significantly. It is a Republican internal, but when you're at 60% and your opponents combine for 22, you're probably going to win, even though we still are roughly a year out of the election. So Mo Brooks, solid candidate. And it kind of calls back to that graph because we talk about why we need to win back the House and the Senate and, get more governorships with authentic conservatives, because it clearly matters, because Trump's base is up here. And on economic issues, they're pragmatists. Yes, they believe in capitalism, obviously, but at the same time, screaming socialist, socialist, socialist to our opposition, when our opposition is mainly global regulatory capitalists that trample over small businesses and are corporatists that serve the interests of the corporate establishment, including wokeism, by the way, which I think has kind of been a positive for Republicans. They are kind of capitalizing on that anti-corporate messaging. But when it comes down to this whole tug of war that you're trying to label like Mark Kelly from Arizona as a socialist, it just doesn't add up, and it doesn't resonate well with these voters either, because they're pragmatists. A lot of them voted for Obama in 2008, but are just pushed to the edge, and they want Donald Trump because Donald Trump answered to them on immigration, foreign policy, trade, and draining the swamp. And you could say maybe Trump didn't answer as president in the same manner he did Trump the campaigner, but either way, he got a lot of those same voters this time around, and he potentially, and the Republican Party in 2022, can expand that base and bring them on board to vote against Biden, because Biden's not too popular with this quadrant up here. A lot of people are like -1 to the left, and then up here, they believe in a strong American identity. They do believe in social conservatism for the most part. Down here, there's nothing. And this is where the Republican Party kind of is headed on some, domestic social issues. They're headed into being more socially liberal. You see this, new wave of liberal Republicans. Even in MAGA Inc., you have a lot of these characters that were going out there supporting a socially liberal transgender candidate for governor of California. Not doing so well in the polls, but in the meantime, you still had a lot of people that were influential in the Republican Party. These people are down here, and nobody's down there. But you look out down here, there are people on the left. The left knows where their base is. They answer to their base for the most part. Their base is fairly, economically liberal, but a higher emphasis now on social liberalism and cultural liberalism. And the big issue is healthcare. If Republicans can answer on healthcare, a lot of these blues in this quadrant are going to turn into red. So you need to find those candidates. And I'm not saying Mo Brooks is probably perfect on all the issues. He's pretty solid, though. But if you look at somebody like Joe Kent, this guy's awesome. We need him. You look at the issues on his website. Not only does he talk about issues like timber and fishing that are relevant to the community that he lives in, that's important, economic localization, serving the interests of the local economy, but he talks about immigration. He says we need to have strict immigration control, and we know that major mega corporations push for mass immigration. Very few candidates have the guts to say this, but it's very true, and they've been doing it for years and years and years on end, despite 80% of studies showing that increased immigration levels do lead to some form of wage depression. And I think it's like for every 10% increase in labor, a 5% dip was the average of all the studies or something like that. But looking into it, it shows that he's pushing back against amnesty, working against sanctuary cities, but also, strict E-Verify and limiting the current immigration system. Joe Kent is for, I believe, some form of net zero moratorium, in my opinion, from what I've seen him tweet. And he's talking about ending our wars. That's important. Definitely. A lot of Republicans want to get back on this neocon wave of interventionism because Biden happened to pull out of Afghanistan in a fairly erratic manner. I think that's wrong, that they want to go back to intervention. That's ridiculous. Obviously, nation building is a failure. When Biden says that, he's right. Is Biden paying lip service to something that he really doesn't believe in? Probably, but it doesn't matter. That's not what we need to counter signal. You can't just be never Biden no matter what Biden says or what Biden does. You got to be never Biden for the right reasons. Obviously, there's quite a bit of reasons to be never Biden. The fact that he, wanted to pull troops out of Afghanistan is not one of them. Obviously, he did it in a very poor manner, and he left behind Americans, and he left behind weaponry, and he shouldn't have done that, and it's probably going to cause a refugee crisis. That's a valid reason, but the idea that we want to pull troops out of Afghanistan the same way Trump wanted, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But I look at candidates like Joe Kent, and I see leaders, I see authentic conservatives. I like Mo Brooks a lot, but you have a lot of Republicans that clearly aren't going to get it. And I know that we're not going to primary every incumbent because the swamp runs deep, but you have to understand, if just a few people in Congress, if we can create a caucus in Congress, in the House and the Senate, if we can have a caucus of people that truly get it, like Joe Kent, Mo Brooks, there's plenty of other candidates that are running for office. I'm probably going to do a video on that, an endorsements video, the best candidates. And I mean, you see Blake Masters in Arizona, another potentially great senator. Chances are if these people go on Tucker Carlson, there's about a good 90% chance that they're legit because Tucker truly understands the issues. But the truth is that we've had this caucus before. It was the Freedom Caucus, and there were a few good members of that. Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar. I like a lot of these people a lot, but still, they, in many cases, when they were elected, they fell into the trap of corporate interests and didn't really serve the American people. Not talking about Gosar and Biggs because they get it, but there's a few people in that caucus, like Justin Amash, for example, complete and total sellout to China. That's one of the main reasons why he left the Republican Party. It wasn't because, Trump's mean and he's unprincipled. No, it's because of the fact that Trump was actually putting tariffs on China and it didn't really affect his business in the most positive way. It's just pure corruption from the so-called Tea Party libertarian. But beyond that point, what I wanted to say is that we've had people have control of Congress, the Republicans, for years and years on end. We've gotten nowhere. But if we have a few people that do get it, like Joe Kent, like Mo Brooks, that will be able to hold the line on several things, that will be able to push the rest of the party to where it needs to be, at least the decent people, because there are a few decent people out there in the party who don't quite get it, but they're not super corrupt. People like John Neely Kennedy out of Louisiana and a few others. If we can get them on our side, potentially, it very well could be a turning point within the Republican Party. And even to an extent within our country, because the Overton window, we've lost so much ground. We need to start pushing it back to where it needs to be. If we can get the ball rolling now, we'll get there eventually. If we can't get the ball rolling now, I don't know if we'll ever get there. This is why this is super important. This graph says it all, because Republicans are all the way down here. They need to be up here. No, this is not a political compass, obviously. If you're at the -1 or 1, it's really within the American Overton window. More so than anything else. It doesn't necessarily mean that one is like an extremist if they're at 1, or if they're like to the super left of the economic spectrum, that they're like a communist or anything like that, because that's not entirely how it works. But either way, the Overton window needs to be shifting because there's so much base there, and there's quite a few people that Republicans don't quite have in their coalition that they could add, people who do love America. Maybe they just really want health care. All right. Formulate the messaging better. We can get these people some health care, and then we're going to be able to regain control of the presidency and actually get things done because we have people in Congress that truly get it. The left uses power against us at every turn. The right is afraid of power. They say, well, it's going to be used against us, but it's already being used against us to the point where people are losing their livelihoods over their political opinions, and it really does need to stop now. But in the meantime, this is a great tweet from the American Populist Union, great organization. Recommend people give them a follow, saying elections alone won't save our country, because this is true. Like the left over the past century, we too must begin a long march into all of the institutions. If we cannot seize or infiltrate important institutions like the media, pop culture, and academia, elections are pointless. This is true, although elections are not pointless, but we need people that get it. We need people that understand. If the left has essentially taken away traditional America, we need to reinstate it, and we need to instill those values back into our country. And it starts with standing our ground in primaries, in elections, because, elections alone won't save our country. But we can have a few people who will be able to push the Overton window back to where it needs to be. And that's really the moral of the story with this video. So anyways, guys, make sure that it's a red wave, not a rhino wave. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.